The remains of what could be the largest dinosaur ever discovered in Europe are being excavated in a back garden in Portugal. The fossilised skeleton of a sauropod was discovered in the central city of Pombal in 2017, when a man began building work on his house. Sauropods were the biggest of all dinosaurs and the largest known land animals. Well, Dr. Sally Reynolds is based at Bournemouth University and specialises in mammal paleontology.
There's so many fossils underneath our feet. I'm here on the Isle of Wight now, and everywhere you look is incredible fossil exposures. It's a wonderful reminder to people that no matter where you are, in the UK or in Europe, you are literally walking on the bones of the dinosaurs and other fossils beneath our feet.
So what more do we know about this particular dinosaur that we found in this garden in Portugal?
So because we've only found at the moment, the specialists have been looking at it, we've only found some of the vertebrae and some of the ribs. It means that we're not yet in a position to say exactly what species it is, but they've identified it as a brachiosaurid dinosaur. So that is a sauropod, as you mentioned, of the family that has Apatosaurus, Brontosaurus, Diplodocus. These are names that some of your viewers and your listeners might know, because these are the animals that were so beautifully portrayed in Jurassic Park. So as we find, hopefully, more of the skeleton, especially the teeth and elements of the skull, we should be able to find out exactly what species it was.
So in the government's 13-page memo explaining why the DOJ made the redactions, they say parts must remain sealed to protect the safety and privacy of a significant number of civilian witnesses in addition to law enforcement. So that tells you there's more than one informant potentially within Trump's inner circle, right?
It sounds like there are a lot of informants, Alex, and it's fascinating that DOJ put this sentence front and center in this motion that accompanied the unsealing of the affidavit. DOJ can't go out in public and hold press conferences and tell us what the information in the affidavit means, but they can speak through their pleadings, and I think this speaks very loudly. There had been a lot of speculation about who the informant was, or maybe there were a couple of informants. But DOJ is saying that there are a significant number of them, not one, not a couple, not a few. This sounds like there are a large number of people in Maralago cooperating with DOJ, and perhaps people who all along, without any form of proper security clearance, would have had access to this information as well.
Well, you've said before that DOJ generally is prone to understatement. So on the heels of that, was there any overreach by the DOJ in the reasonings for the redactions?
No, this is pretty clean. If anything, DOJ has gone much further in releasing this material than I've ever seen them do. I had a defense lawyer text me yesterday, and she said, every time I've asked to see the search warrant affidavit for one of my clients, DOJ has laughed me out of the room. She said, I'm glad I will go to my grave having read at least one affidavit, even though it's someone else's. And I think that's pretty accurate. These affidavits are never released. This is such an exceptional case, but DOJ, I think, did a very respectful job of reviewing the law and balancing the interests, because the law is very clear that the public has an interest in knowing this information. It's tough to imagine a case where the public would have a greater interest DOJ would need to respect.
After the FBI search of Maralago, allies of Donald Trump insisted that the action itself was politically motivated. They claimed that if the feds really wanted those documents, all they had to do was ask. House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy was so livid, he threatened to launch an investigation into the DOJ and Attorney General Merrick Garland, at one point arguing, why wouldn't they just ask the president if they had something there that they wanted? He surely would have provided it to them. Why did they have to show up in the manner that they did? Indeed. It turns out that the authorities did ask for access. And now even Fox News viewers are being educated on that specific point.
Going back to the New York Post headline in the middle of all of this, you could have just asked.
They were asking. How many times we don't know, but the impression in the affidavit is that they asked for it multiple times. And President Trump has said several times all they had to do was ask. Well, my sense is they were asking for a year and a half. And why he was holding on to these materials when he had no legal authority to do so under the Presidential Records Act is beyond me.
Again, that is Karl Rove saying the federal government did ask multiple times over a year and a half. So there goes that argument. A small group of fervent Trump supporters have moved on to a new talking point, claiming that there are simply too many redactions in the affidavit and that there is just no transparency. Look at all that black ink. The third-ranking Republican in the House, Elise Stefanik, told Fox News, quote, "The American people deserve transparency and not an outrageously heavily redacted affidavit to cover up for and politically protect Joe Biden and the FBI for this dangerous and un-American overreach." Who is to say that if we were to learn what was in those redactions, that they'd necessarily be good for Donald Trump? I mean, that is perhaps why the reaction from the overwhelming majority of Republicans has simply been silence. As the New York Times notes, even the most bombastic Republicans, people like Representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert, they were initially focused elsewhere in the hours after the affidavit was released. They were tweeting about things like border invasions. And as the Washington Post points out, even GOP leaders like Congressman Kevin McCarthy and Senator Mitch McConnell have gone mum. Neither man has responded to requests for comment tonight from the Washington Post. That does it for us tonight. Rachel will be here on Monday, and I will see you back here on Tuesday. Now it is time for the last word. Allie Bellrance tonight. Good evening, Allie.
I have a big smile on my face because of what you just said. I'm thinking to myself, we're not going to, we can be waiting a long time before those people respond and say something about that. It's kind of wild how everybody's gone suddenly silent on this thing.
When you've lost Karl Rove, you know you're in trouble.
You've lost the game.
It's impossible to underestimate the importance of this car. You can see the photo there, and it sits there exactly as it was back in the day. We're delighted to be offering it. It's £550,000. £550,000 on the Ford Escort. I've never said that before. 560, it's 580 now to Alderley Edge. Surely £600,000. Surely 600,000 comes in Dubai. It's £650,000 Alderley Edge, first time. It's £650,000 Alderley Edge, second time. Here's the hammer. At Silverstone Auction, selling then the Diana, Princess of Wales, 1985 Ford Escort RS Turbo S1 for £650,000. Third and final.
All right, AOC-backed candidate Kristen Gonzalez is promising a socialist wave of candidates after her primary win for New York State Senate.
We really prove that socialism wins. Anywhere, we are not going anywhere, and we will not stop until we see a socialist flag across this city.
Our next guest escaped socialism in Venezuela and survived Mao's communist revolution in China. Daniel DiMartino and Xi Van Fleet join us now with their message for America. Xi, I'm going to start with you. These are young people who are touting socialism. Socialism wins. Tell us what it really means to live in an authoritarian state like that.
Yeah, I just want to say it's so ironic. 36 years ago, I ran away from socialism. When I left China, come to this great country for freedom. Today, so many Americans abandoning freedom and ran into socialism. They have no idea what socialism is about. I lived under Mao's socialism. When the government controls everything, make all the decisions, big and small. It decides how much grain, meat, cooking oil I could have, what I should learn in school, where I should live, and what job I should have, and how I should think. In the socialist society I lived under, there's no choices, there's no freedom. And that's what people do not know. Socialism becomes such a diluted word, and it's intentional. I can tell you, China is a socialist country. Cuba is a socialist country, and so is North Korea. They are socialist country run by communist parties. And what's the difference? What's the difference between socialism and communism? Not much. Socialism is the initial stage of communism, according to Karl Marx.
Yeah, you're so right. Thank you for reminding us about that. Daniel, tell us about your experience living under socialism in Venezuela.
Well, I think my experience should scare Americans because I used to have a middle-class family life like most of the people watching did and do. And we went from having cars, from having a home, from going to school every day, to not having electricity, to me having to line up for food, to the government telling me which day of the week I could go to the grocery store. That is what socialism did to Venezuela. And the voters don't understand that in New York, and that's why Kristen Gonzalez won. But the scary part is that she does know what she's supporting. In fact, the organization that supports her, the New York City Democratic Socialists of America, sponsored an event in New York City that I attended to protest because they brought 3 people who work for the Maduro regime to advocate against U.S. sanctions to these corrupt members of the regime that oppresses my nation. So these people claim that they want to turn America into Denmark, but then they meet with Venezuela's dictator, not with the Danish prime minister. So I think that should tell you everything you need to know about who they are.
Yeah, it is very interesting. These young people certainly don't know what you're saying. I think we all got a little taste of socialism and authoritarianism during the pandemic, but seeing these young women take these prominent positions is a little bit scary for our future here in this country, and we're really grateful to people like you who give us a very clear picture of what that means. Thank you, Daniel and Xi. Always insightful, always illuminating.
Thanks, Rachel.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.